on the moon, you know, it crashed. They put Sputnik in orbit. We put people in orbit. And the whole concept of the space race, you know, it seemed kind of good. And then all of a sudden, you know, it was de-emphasized. And we stopped. Like, we have infrastructure in space. We have stuff in orbit. We have probes we've sent out. But for all the, you know, billions of dollars spent, it doesn't feel like there's very much yield. And it went from being a space race, you know, to just war and war and war. But, you know, they're saying they want to put people on Mars. They want to do stuff with the moon. They want to build space platforms. This guy Musk, he's talking about doing all this stuff. And, of course, you have this administration talking about their space force. So what was a space race in last century is now becoming more of, we have infrastructure to guard.
Kind of like getting off the surface just so we could start building and protecting from that.
Yes, I know, but the question remains: is what are we protecting, or what are we protecting from?
Unless, what are we running from?
Well, what are we not running from? There's no longer a space race. What are we running towards, or why aren't we running? Should be the real question. We should already be on Mars. I mean, all these things should already have happened, because when our parents were kids, they were talking about all this stuff. And what really happened otherwise? What was done on Earth that's so marvelous?
From what I know, is Earth in maybe many more years may not be inhabitable. That's why they might have to get off the surface and find another surface to live in. Somehow, some way, Mars becomes the planet that is probably habitable.
Yeah, I think I think environmentalists say a lot of stuff about the habitability of the Earth, and what's going to happen is, if we deform the environment somehow, which, you know, maybe we are, maybe we aren't. The Earth is a very old and grand lady. I don't think we could do to her the things that they say we can do to her. Maybe with nukes, maybe with radiation and pollution seeping into the soil. To me, it will mean extinction for us. But she'll go on. The Earth will go on. The sun will go on. Until it doesn't. But as far as inhabitable, yeah, for us. But whatever comes up after us will then inherit the planet.
Ricky brings a very good point. It's inhabitable for us.
I think the future of our race definitely begs that we go into space, though. I think it's what we're supposed to do.
We need to go into that frontier land.
Mm-hmm.
It's that
Well said.
frontier land that it's kind of like Lewis and Clark, who ventured out to the lands of America, or Magellan, who won the world round, I would say.
Yeah, and I would also attribute such things to more modern sources, like the great Gene Roddenberry, the great Carl Sagan. Roddenberry was a futurist, creator of Star Trek, dreamer of a future where we were spacefaring. Read the books Michio Kaku wrote about the next stage of our civilization. Listen to Carl Sagan talk about cosmos and hear the pathos in his voice. It's a dream I would share for us. This as opposed to living in zero and fighting over land and resources.
Yes.
The scarcity systems are illusory. They'll tell you that there's not enough. We know through science that our solar system is filled with asteroids. There's this thing called the Kuiper Belt. These asteroids are pregnant with iron and gold and diamonds, all sorts of metals. They could have water ice. They could have methane ice. They could have gas hydrate. Valuable elements and minerals to fuel a civilization beyond zero.
Could you please talk more about the Kuiper Belt so people would understand? I mean, I would like to know, and I'm sure the listeners would.
Well, there's ancient theories that talk about how there were more planets in the solar system at the beginning. And there's an asteroid belt. I think it's in between Mars and Jupiter. But I'm not entirely sure. You all have smartphones, or great listeners, so you can look for yourself. It's an important piece of galactic real estate because the Kuiper Belt is it's an asteroid field of stellar debris. Planetoids and asteroids and comets, they're made of varying things. They're similar. Comets tend to have more ice. Now, ice doesn't necessarily mean water ice. It could be another chemical ice that has frozen because in space is extreme temperatures. But the point is there's a whole bunch of planetoids, which are they're asteroids that are basically remnant of a planet. Either a planet that didn't get formed or a planet that was deformed or destroyed by stellar impact.
Was that a planet that was called Tiamat?
There's some people that call it Tiamat. There are some people that say that that's the theory behind the ancient Akkadian myths with regards to that. There's a bunch of different stories about it. Sitchin enumerates it well. To reference him again.
Good reference.
Well, we've been referencing him. I much care and prefer the theories of Zacharias Sitchin, though they've been called into question by certain orthodoxies. But I don't think that they're so easily dismissed, given the state of evidence, the great megalithic structures, their astrotheological alignment. These are questions that have to be answered more thoroughly by science and engineering before we can dismiss what Mr. Sitchin has been asserting. But the Kuiper Belt is the key to decoding the lie of zero, which is that there's not enough.
Yes.
There's more than enough. It's called you reach and take it. And if you cannot reach and take it, you have to know why that is. Right now, we have death tolls in the hundreds of thousands on this planet because of war, because of this illusory scarcity model.
And if anything, for those who are listening, when you have oil rigs and everything else and chemicals and stuff like that, it has an effect on the psyche. Those who are looking.
Well, I mean, the scarcity system has an effect on everyone. It has an effect on our collective soul because we're being told, well, if you want more, it means you're greedy. Never mind all the world leaders, never mind the corporate leaders, never mind the banking leaders and how they can have whatever they want. If you want more, you're somehow greedy as an individual. You have to hear all the time how we has everything we need here. And the answer is, yes, that's true. But as opposed to a human being coming up and believing, well, I have to fit in my own little box, I'm only asking, when did the space race stop? And I'm asking rhetorically. I'm not asking as a point of... I'm asking, why are we no longer reaching for what is, in my opinion...
I've got a question.
What's that?
What happens if Russia won the space race? They were the first ones to land on the moon. What happens?
I don't know that very much happens at all. I only know what's going on now, which is in the International Space Station, there was recently a very strange event that took place that I was looking at not too long ago. They're by an airlock, and this is a true news story. You can look this up right now, although it's not necessary to do so. By an airlock, there's this panel that looks damaged. It looks like someone took a screwdriver and put a hole in the metal. Now, there's this back and forth going on between the Russians and the Americans, or whoever else is involved.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be an international space station. Supposed to be. You know, trillions of dollars goes alakazam. We bail out, who knows, untold amounts of real estate scammers and banks. But our space station is like, it's like a gerbil cage. It's, for all the money we spend, to me, it's woefully inadequate. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. But regardless, it's like a little jungle gym up there. And they're saying now that someone put a hole in this metal where there was an air leak.
Wow.
And this is on a stack of Bibles or waffles or whatever it is that matters to you.
Yeah.
But they said that there was like an air leak, and they went back and forth. The Russians said they didn't do it. So it's not a space race anymore. Now it's falling into, well, now we have a space station, and someone breaks something, and now, like children, they argue back and forth.
However, I want to add, we're on the inside looking out. What about the outside looking in?
By that, you mean
UFO.
Wow.
Alien technology and everything else that they have something involved in this race as well too, because when we're going into another territory, so to speak, we're meeting the people in that territory.
Well, look, what
aliens in the territory.
That's a whole.
This is an overview of what you need to make a book great. If you're going to make it mean something, you should go overboard and use those strengths to your advantage and use those tools. I know I might not have covered everything in this book. This is an overall how-to, and some things you will find in other books. Here is a word of advice. This is your baby. If you nurture it and make it grow, it will grow. You may find that you have done this for a while, and then this time around, you may never get it done. You may have personal problems in your life, and it might attack you in every direction. With this, you might go through a breakup or a divorce. You may go through family problems. You may go through hell and back. But keep going through your pain. Finish that book or keep on writing your books. Eventually, your hard work will pay off. You could have a hell of a year with writing. But in writing, it is being able to come out with stuff. You could outsource, but wouldn't you want your own words being heard? Some people may have thought that I outsourced in the span of 2 years, but I did all that work myself. I lost my relationship along the way because of it. But when you have a dream in life, you have to go for it, no matter what you lose. I know I was watching a Hallmark movie around Christmas time, where a woman wanted a book deal and got it, and it changed her life. However, at the same time, she split up with the one she was with because they didn't share the same vision. Life is like this, and if our words aren't conveyed, and even if you reach a small group of people, isn't it worth it? If you have a message to share with the world, there is a price that is there to be paid. But you go and do it. It might be hard, and there might be loss along the way. But your emotions come alive in writing. If you have a vision to make this world a better place with your writing, then do it. Life is full of change and challenges. I won't guarantee your book will be a success. It may flop, but it is worth trying and putting out there to the world.